Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Leia and I live with my partner Martin and our toddler Puck here on our land in central Portugal. And today I want to explain to you all the different aspects of what makes us off-grid. We are completely off-grid, so I'm going to talk you through how we get our water, how we cook, how we get our electricity, all of that. So if you want to see that, please keep on watching. Of course, everywhere water is important, but especially here in dry central Portugal, you need a very good source of water. Our primary source of water right now is this well, which we cleaned last summer, which you would have seen if you've been watching for a while, and I'll link it down below. But the bottom is nice and clean now. From what we know, what we can see, it's about 8 meters deep and 4 to 5 meters wide. We haven't really measured it, but all in all, it's a lot of water. It's carved out of the rock and it's spring fed, which means that the water comes out of the bottom, and it's very clean water. We use it for washing, we use it in our washing machine and just for the dishes, and as I'll show you in a minute, we also filter it for our drinking water. For now we've been using that simple pump that you see right there to pump everything out, but it's a little bit of a hassle. It works for now, but over the next couple weeks we hope to upgrade to a submersible pump, and that should make life a little bit easier. By now we are so lucky that we can run the pump on our solar system, so we run it during the day. We don't pump every day, but when we see that the tanks are running low, we pump it out and into the tanks, and then we can gravity feed it to the garden. So up here, a little bit above the yurt, we have one of our water tanks. This is the one that we use in the kitchen for our washing machine and the washing up. We fill it with water from the well, so we pump it all the way up here, and then we can gravity feed it into the kitchen. Everything that we're setting up right now is temporary, so we just have this plastic IBC. It's 1,000 liters and it's enough that we only have to fill it every couple weeks for now. With the washing machine it uses more, so we might add another one. This is also the water that we use in our Berkey water filter system for drinking water. And we've covered it up with this old tarp so that the algae don't go wild once the sun comes out. So as I just said, we drink our well water and we filter it for drinking with this Berkey over here. It's a 12 liter, which is 3.5 gallons. And we like it and we don't like it. We like it because it filters pretty much everything, so we can filter our well water and it's totally fine. But we don't like it because it's a carbon filter, and because we have some very fine clay sediment in our well water that really comes up when it rains or when we pump anything out. It gets clogged really easily, and so we have to clean it a lot more than I would like to, and quite harshly as well. One of the things that we want to set up, and we've been trial and erroring, is first filter the water from the well through some sand, and the idea is that the clay sediment will stick to the sand, and then after that it should go through here no problem. But we have a hard time finding good sand for that here. So what we might do in the future is do another IBC, get a lot of sand in there and first pump it into that one, let it fall down, filter through. So we're still fine-tuning it, which also means that for now we also get some water from the font, from the local watering hole here in the village, which is excellent drinking water. They test it every 2 weeks. It's straight from the mountain, very healthy. Here in Portugal we are so fortunate that every village has their own spring water, public water place. It's a little bit of an extra task to do, but it's not like we used to do before, where we had to get all our water from there. It was every other day we had to get water from there, and now it's just for drinking, so it's not so much anymore. Next up, how we cook. So for now we have this little gas-powered stove, and we use a gas bottle every 2 months. We have to buy a new one. It's about 25 euros per bottle, so it's not a big investment, but because we want to use as little fossil fuels as we can, in the winter we cook on the wood-fired stove, and right now we're orientating on what type of solar cooker we could make or buy. Could be a fun project, I don't know, but in time we want to use as little fossil fuels as we can. So getting rid of this last, well, next to petrol, getting rid of this gas bottle would be good, but I'm not sure if we could ever do it. So we try to use as little as possible. Next up, our electricity. So for the last year we had only 2 small panels and a small battery, but recently we upgraded to this system where we have 5 panels. They're 280 watt each, so that's 1400 watts in total, and they're hooked up in parallel, which means that if one is in the shade a little bit, they do keep producing electricity for us. So far we are quite happy with them. We can run our fridge on them, we can do the water pump during the day as well as the washing machine. So that's really excellent and a major upgrade from what we used to have before. What we are looking or still fine-tuning is if we should get a little timer for the fridge so that it doesn't turn on at night, but since we have sun for so long in the summer, it's fine for now, but in the winter we might have to be a little bit more strict. Solar works really good here in Portugal because we have about 300 days of sun, and because we have a battery bank we can bridge the couple days that we do have rain. Alternatively, we've stayed in places where they also had a water turbine during the winter if they had a running stream, seasonal stream, and that was very excellent. We are not so lucky, but maybe we'll do some addition in the future in the form of wind. And here we have our battery house. We made it, well, Marta made it out of pallets, and we have an insulated roof panel so that it stays nice and cool. We have 4 batteries in a 24-volt system, and they are 260 amp hours each. And we have a big inverter that can do up to 3000 watts. Being off-grid means that you take control of all the different aspects of your life. And in a normal house you can just flush everything away, but we have to deal with it on our own land. So what we do is a composting toilet. Right now it's a really simple setup where we just have a chair with a bucket underneath. It works for now. We have to empty out the bucket every week or so, and we just make a pile of human manure somewhere else on the land, not so close to the yurt, but closer to the garden. And then over time, I think we've been on the land for a little over a year now. The first pile will leave in the next couple of weeks, and then we let it compost for a year or 2, and then we can feed it back to the trees. So it's a really nice bit of circle of life there. But we have no issue with it. We like the bucket. In the future, on the long list of things that we still want to do, we want to make a more permanent one where you have just two chambers where you fill one up, then you move to the next one, and once you fill that up you can use the first one. There's the couple on Simple Living Alaska have one of those, and we've stayed in a house where he did the same thing, and that works really well, but you need more permanent walls for that. For now we have this. It works well. It doesn't smell. I think that's a great misconception about composting toilets. If you do the peeing somewhere else, then especially it doesn't smell. We buy wood chips from the shop. I'm sure if you live somewhere by a mill or something you could get it for free, but for now we buy 1 pack every 6 months for 10 euros, and it works well. I hope the cat is not too noisy. Finally, heating. So we do a wood burning stove, and you might think, why are there two stoves? Let me tell you, it's a bit of a story. So we had bought this one secondhand long before we had the yurt, and we thought that's perfect. We have a little oven here, we can use it for cooking very easily, and we installed it when we got the yurt. But then we realized that usually if you have this type of stove, there's a little chamber that you can open and close to either have the heating go through here around the oven or directly into the chimney. What you need for a proper heating is you first need to heat the chimney because hot air wants to go up, not necessarily to the right or the left, and so you need this little chamber to heat up the chimney first so you get enough of a draft, and then you can start doing the oven. Well, this one, for some reason, even though if you buy it new it's quite expensive, doesn't have that little door where you can heat the chimney first. Can you hear how annoyed I am by this? So if we would ever light the fire in here, we would have to keep the door open a little bit for proper circulation, and only after an hour it would be hot enough, and then it would already have heated the whole thing. It was annoying. So we had to open the windows. There would be smoke in here. It was absolutely a nightmare. We'll try to fix it. Obviously now it's summer, for the next couple months we don't need it. But because it was such a hassle and we already had bought this one as well, we decided and just put this one in, connected to the chimney. Works fine. It's not pretty, but it works. It heats the space very quickly. You can light the fire and just go away, no problem. And yeah, the pros for this one is that because it's so big, it's very heavy steel. It keeps the heat for a very, very long time, so you can put it on in the morning and then just kind of let it die down, and the whole thing stays warm, and the yurt stays warm. Quite hot actually, and then we would also light it in the night, and then when we would go to bed just let it die down, and it would stay warm the whole night as well. So that's a big plus for this one. But because it doesn't work properly, we changed to this one, which heats the yurt no problem. It just doesn't keep the heat very well. So yeah, it gets a little chilly in the beginning of the morning, but that's really not, I mean, we're not in Siberia, so it's not that cold. And therefore not such a big issue. We don't have to light it all through the night or all through the day, because we have double insulation. If we heat the yurt and we let the fire die down, it's warm for the next couple hours. We like the wood burning because it gives a really dry heat, and we just can get the wood from our land, or we buy it from someone local, and it's not so expensive, and you don't have to buy any gas, which also brings its problems. That's the story of our wood burning stove. We still have to chop the wood for this winter, but because it's so warm in summer, and we use pine, which dries really quickly, I think we'll be alright. We chopped the tree down before winter, so. And finally, I thought I would just mention this quickly because I already talked about it in the Q&A video as well. For internet and for a computer, we have a little 4G NOS router, which works for us. It's not the quickest, best internet, but it was the most affordable. So that's why we have it. We have unlimited data, so we never have to worry about streaming too much or uploading or anything like that. If you're farther in the countryside or you need super stable, quick internet, I would suggest looking into satellite internet, because here in this region, I don't think if you're off-grid you can get whatever that high quality fiber internet is. I hope I covered all the bases. If I missed anything, do let me know in the comments. like I said earlier as well, our current setup is all temporary. So we have nothing set in stone. We're making it up as we go, and it's not yet for a permanent house or another permanent structure, because we have the yurt right now, and we might move some stuff around. We might build a house in the future, so we didn't want to commit to anything or any place. So in the future we'll be working on expanding and improving the system that we have right now. So we want to get a better pump to get out of the well. We want to create more spaces for water collection on the land. So we're going to work on the spring that we found. And then the idea is that we'll build a bigger tank, probably with some concrete rings that we can water seal. For food storage we'll do a root cellar, because as I said, we want to use as little fossil fuels or energy in other types as well. So for food storage, a root cellar is really a great option. And now that we have the digger, it won't be as much work as in our previous plan. We still kind of have to think out all the specific details of how we're going to build the root cellar, where exactly we're going to do that. And it's a project for winter, because digging right now is really quite hard, because the ground is really hard because it's so dry. So that's months in the future, and not until next year's harvest that we can use it. But we really want to do this because I don't want to have a bunch of freezers and then we need extra solar, because solar still comes from things that we get out of the ground. You need precious metals for that, and of course you can recycle, but that system is also not perfect, so we want to really be conscious of how big of a system we get, and how reliant we are on that, and we don't want to be too reliant on that. So I hope that makes sense. That's our plan for the future. Going off grid can be a little bit of a puzzle. For us it's a fun puzzle because you really take control of all the basic aspects in your life. So we like it, but I know it's not for everyone. Some people just don't want to think about where their electricity comes from. Solar can be quite complicated if you have more than 2 panels and a battery. So I totally understand if it's not for you, but you can always compost, I think, if regulations allow that in your area. A composting toilet, or maybe a flushing toilet with rainwater. There are really things that you can improve in the system, even if you are on grid. So I would highly encourage you to do so. For those who want to go off grid, I hope this was a little bit helpful. And that's it for today, and I'll see you guys in the next video.